Hi, I am Dr. Felice Gersh, your integrative OBGYN physician. Excited to be here to talk to you on PCOS during PCOS Awareness Month. Yes, September every year is PCOS Awareness Month when we deal with every aspect of polycystic ovary syndrome, the most common endocrine disorder of reproductive aged women, the most common cause of female infertility. What is the best diet for women with PCOS? So to understand what the best diet would be, we must first understand why do we eat and what's in our food. And then a third question, when do we do it? Like, when do we consume the food? So let's start with what is the reason for us eating food. Well, everyone needs food. You will die without it. But what is food all about? Well, food is essential to serve the needs of every cell in our body, to provide the vital ingredients to allow the cells to perform their essential functions and to be optimally healthy themselves. So what does a cell need? It needs energy. It needs all kinds of micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. And then it works much better with, I call it the special sauce, the polyphenols. So if we think about food as there to serve the needs of our cells, then we have to think, well, what should food consist of? There are macronutrients. There are three types of macronutrients. They would be the fats. Now, fats have been maligned, and you may know this, but fats include what are called essential fatty acids. The reason they're called essential is that we must eat them to survive because we cannot make them. And these are all the different fats that make up omega-6s and omega-3s. The different types of fat, they're not the same, and they actually end up in the body creating different types of lipid signaling agents, lipid mediators. Saturated fat, though not essential for life, does improve in small quantities fertility and happiness. So a little bit of saturated fat is good, but we need plenty of omega-6s, omega-3s. Those are essential fatty acids. Now, where do we find them? Well, the fatty acids that are omega-6 come from all kinds of plants like seeds and nuts, avocados, and omega-3 that predominantly comes from certain types of fatty fish. You can also get omega-3 from its precursor, but in small amounts it gets converted to the type that humans need, the EPA, DHA, from such foods as flaxseed, but in very small amounts. So now you know that fatty acids, fats are essential. So we have to eat food that have fats in them. And what about protein? Well, we need to have protein. We cannot make all the different types of amino acids ourselves, so we have to consume protein. Now, what about carbs, carbohydrates? Actually, carbohydrates are not called essential, but there are magical properties to carbohydrates. So carbohydrates definitely belong in the diet in significant quantities. I'm going to tell you in a few moments, in the diet of women with PCOS. Because guess what's in carbs? These are carbs that are coming from whole grains and vegetables, nuts and seeds and legumes like beans of all types and lentils, all kinds of fiber, and many other micronutrients. We definitely want to include all the macronutrients, fats, and we want protein, and we do want carbs, but we don't want refined carbs. We want whole foods. So the diet of every human on this planet, which overlaps with the diet that's optimal for women with PCOS, is what we call a whole foods diet, which is the opposite of a processed food diet. Processed foods, and particularly what we call ultra-processed foods, which is what make up most of the processed foods that are consumed in the U.S., are really bad for everyone, and especially for women with PCOS. So whole foods means they're in the form that they came out on the planet with. So whole grains means they haven't gone to a factory and been pulverized into a flour or turned into a flake or some other non-existent form that would never exist in nature. And fruits and vegetables are in their whole form. And that is what whole foods are. They're like you go to the farm and you get food. It's not like you go to the 7-Eleven or some other kind of grocery store and you go down most of the aisles, the middle ones that have all these boxes of all kinds, and they're just foods that came from a factory. Minimally processed foods would be like you got a can and on it, I don't really like cans, but maybe a cardboard type of container because we don't want the chemicals in the can liners, the BPA. But on the label, or it could be frozen, it says the ingredients are organic chopped tomatoes or peppers or organic stewed tomatoes, that kind of thing. So basically, it's one ingredient or two, but they're all just organic whole foods that have been minimally processed, like stewed or chopped, something like that. And we can include a little bit of that because I know no one has time to make everything from scratch. But most things should be made from scratch. And it's enjoyable. Cooking is fun, and you have to sometimes plan ahead. And you can do simple things, but we want to eat a whole foods diet, not a processed foods diet. So now we definitely want to include all of our macronutrients. We don't want to exclude any among the different three types: fats, proteins, carbohydrates. And then there are micronutrients. Those are the things like vitamins and minerals, fiber, polyphenols. These are not optional either. We need to have them to be healthy. And different types of foods have different micronutrients. That's why we need to eat a big array. I hate highly restrictive diets. Sometimes you need to do a restrictive diet for various and sundry medical reasons, but as a general rule, we want to include more food, not less food, as long as it's whole food, not processed food. So what are these different micronutrients about? Well, vitamins and minerals are essential for cellular function. You need to have foods that are really filled with these micronutrients. Now, what about fiber? And what about fiber for women with PCOS? This is really important. Many diets that are promoted these days are really low in fiber. And it just breaks my heart. The keto diet and like low carb diets, high protein diets, those kinds of diets are usually really low in fiber. Now, what is essential about fiber? Well, when we eat, I mentioned we need to eat to help every one of our cells to be optimally functioning. But we have friends that live in us that are cells, and they need to be optimally functioning. They are the gut microbial population, also known collectively as the gut microbiome. Trillions of microbes, predominantly bacteria, but we also have other kinds like fungi and archaea and viruses. But every living thing needs energy, needs nutrients. They need food. Now, what food do the bacteria eat predominantly? Fiber. They ferment it. And that gives great diversity. And the more diverse diet, the more diversity of the microbial population. They also love different polyphenols, the magical sauce that's found in plants. And different polyphenols are favored by different microbes. So eating lots of fiber, which all comes from plants, predominantly things like beans and lentils and all kinds of vegetables, those are all in the carb family. So what I am advocating for is gut microbial sustaining diet, which means nurturing the gut microbes, which means a diet high in polyphenols and fiber. really and truly a high carb diet. And you say, oh no, I can't eat carbs. They make my blood sugar go up. Not this kind of diet. Has a lot of resistant starch. And these whole carbs, these are not processed. And you eat them as part of a meal. So remember, the meal also includes fats, healthy fats. It also includes healthy proteins. Many of these are mixed into one food item. So you can have like avocado and nuts and seeds and whole grains. They're a mixture of many different micro and macronutrients. And the fiber is essential. Ancient peoples who had the healthy type of PCOS, they often ate 150 grams of fiber a day. Many Americans eat less than 10 grams of fiber. That's a huge differential, and it ends up affecting every aspect of health. And it starts with health or malhealth of the gut microbiome. Women with PCOS have been proven to have the wrong population of gut microbes. We call it dysbiosis of the gut microbial population. So a very high fiber diet, a very high plant-based diet, and you have to have some healthy fats and some protein. But percentage-wise, you're going to have a huge amount of plants. What would I suggest? Across the colors of the rainbow. So I want you with PCOS, all you PCOS gals, to stop maligning carbs. Don't go on a keto diet. The high fat in a keto diet is not going to do you well because it's usually high amounts of saturated fat, which actually create more leaky gut and circadian rhythm dysfunction, and do not nurture your gut microbes. You may lose weight initially, but you're not building the foundations of health. Also, women have tremendous problems staying in ketosis. They have to eat 80% of their diet fat. That is going to exclude all of those wonderful plant-based carbs. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. Women in general do not do well on a keto diet. What about a high protein diet? Protein is proliferative. It causes growth. We do not want to be out of control proliferating. We want to control growth. So a high protein diet also you can lose weight on, but long term, that is not a good diet. Now, when you have high carbs, you're going to have plenty of protein from beans and lentils, nuts and seeds and whole grains. There's plenty of protein. And you will have plenty of healthy fats. And you can add in a supplement of omega-3, or you can have a little bit of fatty fish. What's the best one that you should eat? Because it's low in mercury. Sardines and herring. And don't do that. Don't squint your nose at me when I say sardines. They're really tasty. Just don't look at the heads if you don't want. Don't have somebody else fix it for you and mix it in a salad, and be open-minded. They do taste good, and herring too. Just try it. Try some different ways to eat it. And a little bit of wild salmon. We cannot have everyone eat a ton of wild salmon. The oceans can't support that. So you can be plant-based with a little bit of animal protein, like 3 ounces a day. That was actually coined by the School of Public Health at Harvard University, called the sustainability diet. Sustainable for human life, sustainable for planet Earth. So we don't want to do paleo because we're excluding way too many healthy foods. And that was based on all kinds of theory that turned out to be false before we even understood the gut microbiome. We didn't even know it was important. So forget the paleo diet, forget the keto diet, forget the high protein diet. Go with a plant-based diet, high in fiber. That means it's high in carbs, but there's no processed carbs. It's all whole foods. And don't eat around the clock. Don't eat more than 3 meals a day. Eat your dinner early. Make sure you get 13 hours from dinner to breakfast. I do have a breakfast. Try to make it a good, healthy breakfast. Think of it as a morning meal. I love breakfast salads. So full of healthy carbs. You can throw in beans and nuts and seeds. Delicious. Have an open mind. Don't think breakfast foods are, Pop-Tarts and cereal that is like coming from a box and it's flakes. Think just food. 3 meals, no snacks. a high plant-based sustainable diet, high in healthy plants and fiber. Nurture your gut microbiome and provide all the micronutrients, macronutrients that are needed for every cell in your body to be healthy. Repair and nurture your gut microbiome, get rid of that leaky gut, and increase the production of short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, the metabolic products of fermentation of our best buddies, the gut microbiome. So remember, the best diet to sustain health, the microbial health, our body's health, they're completely intertwined, is a plant-based diet that will be high in fiber, polyphenols, micro and macronutrients, and you will be a healthy gal with PCOS. I can guarantee it. Take care. See you soon.